Shadows at sunset. Beam of light. Ksenia captivated attention with her beauty and elegance, embodying success and refinement. She was a woman of attractive appearance and refined manner. Her long, lush hair framing her graceful face gave her an airy and feminine look. A charming smile always played on her lips, giving her a special charm. She dressed with taste, preferring stylish and fashionable outfits that accentuated her figure and highlighted her refined taste. Her wardrobe always included exquisite dresses, elegant blouses and skirts, as well as accessories that added charm and sophistication to her image. Ksenia possessed refined manners and sophisticated behavior, making her truly charming and attractive in the eyes of others. Her charm and elegance always drew attention, and her inner strength and determination made her even more beautiful to those who knew her deeper. Her parents, businessmen from Spain, provided her with a luxurious childhood in exquisite places and beautiful country estates. Ksenia's adult life seemed even more impressive. She married Mark, a colleague of her father's, who was a lawyer in her father's company. This marriage seemed like the perfect culmination of their acquaintance, and another step towards success for Ksenia. Mark was tall and charismatic, with strong facial features that emphasized his masculinity and confidence. He had dark hair that often looked as if he had just awakened from a deep sleep, but at the same time gave him a mysterious look. His eyes were deep and intense, as if one could penetrate his inner world through them. Mark's appearance was always impeccable and elegant. He preferred stylish clothing that accentuated his strong features and the status of a successful lawyer. Often he could be seen in expensive suits and shirts that gave him a businesslike and attractive appearance. Mark was everything to her, a wonderful companion, a reliable support, and a source of inspiration. For Ksenia, he was not only a beloved husband but also an embodiment of stability and superiority. She saw only the best in him, ignoring his temporary flaws, such as impulsiveness and imbalance, as well as his tendency towards excess in alcoholic drinks. As she looked at her life through rose-colored glasses, she had overcome several trials, but her faith in Mark and their family happiness remained unchanged. Despite the warnings and doubts of others, she remained blind to potential cracks in her perfect world, determined to invest all her love and faith in this marriage. Burning passion. Ksenia and Mark plunged into a whirlwind of passion that illuminated their lives with bright light. Their mutual attachment was deep and passionate, like a fire burning in the night. For Ksenia, Mark was not only a husband but also a source of inspiration, energy, and support. She saw in him the ideal of her happiness, cunningly forgetting about his flaws and vices. Mark, for his part, enveloped her in tenderness and care, tempered in the fire of passion. In his embrace, she felt protected and loved, despite his occasional outbursts of anger and impulsiveness. She believed in his good heart, and saw in him only a spark of kindness. Their relationship was strong and unwavering, but in the darkness, shadows of doubt could emerge. However, Ksenia was ready to accept the risk because Mark meant more to her than just a husband. He was her destiny, her passion, her everything. Cracks in the facade. Cracks began to appear beneath the facade of the perfect marriage, but Ksenia refused to see them. She continued to invest her love and faith in Mark, ignoring all warnings and signs that not everything in their relationship was as smooth as it seemed from the outside. Mark, on the other hand, remained volatile and unbalanced. His outbursts of anger and cruelty became more frequent, leaving deep scars on Ksenia's soul. However, she found justification in his stress and work problems, trying to overcome her doubts and continue living in her illusory world. Nevertheless, an inner voice warned her, but she firmly held on to her faith in Mark, continuing to believe that their love would overcome all difficulties. But through the cracks in the facade of a happy family, the true nature of their relationship was already beginning to show. Whisper of concern. Lydia, Ksenia's sister, became a witness to the changes in their relationship. Her heart filled with worry when she noticed how Mark displayed cruelty and aggression towards her sister. She couldn't stay silent, seeing her sister suffer at the hands of a man she once considered her main protector. Lydia tried to warn Ksenia, to tell her about her concerns and worries, but those words hit a wall of disbelief. Blinded by her faith in Mark, Ksenia rejected all warnings, closing her eyes to the true nature of what was happening. Nevertheless, Lydia couldn't just stand by and watch her sister suffer. She decided to intervene, to protect her from further torment, despite the risks and consequences that might await her on this path. Maternal love. The birth of her daughter became a source of incredible joy and happiness for Ksenia. Her heart was filled with tenderness and love when she first held the little one in her arms. The baby became the center of her world, her most precious treasure. Every moment spent with her daughter filled her soul with light and warmth. Ksenia lovingly cared for the child, surrounding her with care and affection. She was determined to protect her daughter from any storm, whether external or internal. In this little being she saw her future, her source of strength and inspiration. For her, her daughter became a kind of salvation, an embodiment of hope for a happy tomorrow. Ksenia poured all her love and care into her child, trying to create the best possible life for her. Thread of shadows. With time, the shadows of problems slowly began to envelop the family portrait of Ksenia and Mark. Mark's return home became less and less frequent, and when he did appear, it was often accompanied by outbursts of anger and scandals. A series of hangovers replaced endless conflicts, which became increasingly heated. Mark, losing control of his emotions, increasingly went out of control. His flashes of anger and aggression became more and more cruel, leaving Ksenia in horror and despair. What once seemed like excess now turned into a threat to her safety and well-being. Ksenia continued to hide behind the wall of her illusions, trying to find justification for Mark's actions and his problems and stress. She didn't want to admit to herself that their family happiness was crumbling, preferring to believe that everything could still be fixed and returned to normal. But the shadows of the threat became more and more distinct, looming over their family nest. Beyond truth, Lydia, witnessing the hellish drama unfolding in her sister's family, realized that she could no longer stay silent. When she came to visit Ksenia, she didn't expect to see such horror. Her sister was beaten, the child was crying, and Mark continued to strike. Lydia's heart broke from her sister's suffering, and she decided to act. Boldly stepping into the room, Lydia rushed at Mark, trying to divert his attention from her sister. She was ready to do anything to stop his cruelty and protect her loved one. But her actions only fueled the fire in Mark, who began to beat her too. Grabbing the first thing she could find, Lydia cast aside all her fears and doubts. In her hands was a candlestick, and without hesitation, she struck Mark. The fatal blow ended the chaos but brought unimaginable consequences. Whirlwind of fate. Mark's death left a cold silence in the room, pierced only by the child's crying and the heavy breathing of the sisters. Lydia realized that her actions had changed everything, and now a dark future shrouded in the veil of fate lay before her. The whirlwind of events threw her and Ksenia into the abyss of uncertainty. The sisters found themselves drawn into the depths of the past, which turned out to be much darker than they could have imagined. But despite all the difficulties, Ksenia continued to uphold the idea of justifying Mark, even after his death. However, now it was Lydia's turn to face fate. She realized that her actions had saved her sister, but now she faced the threat of a prison cell. Justice in this world seemed unjust to her, and she understood that she would inevitably face the consequences of her actions. Truth on the surface. After Mark's death, events unfolded rapidly. Left in depressing solitude, Ksenia turned to the only means of protection she knew. She resorted to lies. Before the court and the public, she presented a version that Mark was the perfect husband, and Lydia, according to her, killed him out of jealousy. It was her last attempt to preserve her illusion of the perfect family. Lydia, in turn, faced serious accusations and a trial. Despite their father's connections and influence, justice seemed like a distant dream to her. Inside Lydia burned a fire of determination and despair. She knew that even if the price would be high, she had made the right choice by protecting her sister. Truth, like water, always finds its way to the surface. And sooner or later, it will reveal its cards, destroying all false facades and hindering further cover-ups. Truth in hearts. The trial of Lydia was swift and merciless. Despite her attempts at defense and pleas for leniency, she was sentenced to 6 years of imprisonment. This verdict, although seemed unjust, became her fate. As Lydia went behind bars, the truth began to awaken in Ksenia's heart. The wall of lies she had built to protect her illusions began to crack under the pressure of doubts and regrets. She realized that the truth never disappears, it simply waits for its time. Deep in her heart, Ksenia knew that Lydia had done the right thing by protecting her and her daughter from violence. She realized that happiness cannot be built on lies and illusions, and that true salvation comes only through the revelation of truth and its acceptance. Thus, their story ended, their fates woven into the fabric of destiny, but their hearts remained undivided. Although justice seemed distant to them, they found freedom in their souls, reconciling with the truth and embracing it as their salvation. Conclusion: this story tells of the complex relationship between sisters Ksenia and Lydia, who faced difficult trials and incredible challenges. Although they grew up in an affluent family and had all the prerequisites for a happy life, their destinies took an unexpected turn due to Ksenia's toxic relationship with her husband, Mark. Blinded by the idea of the perfect family and a loving husband, Ksenia refused to see and acknowledge the violence and cruelty she endured from Mark. Her faith and loyalty served as a barrier to the revelation of truth and the acceptance of reality. Meanwhile, Lydia, possessing courage and determination, protected her sister, facing the heavy consequences of her actions. Fate brought them to a decisive moment when the truth ultimately surfaced. Dark secrets and terrible truths lay hidden beneath the false facade of an ideal life. And although the price they paid was high, both sisters found their truth and freed their souls from the shackles of lies. This story serves as a reminder of the importance of accepting truth and the courage to protect those we love. It shows that true salvation comes through the realization and acceptance of reality, even if it means overcoming difficulties and confronting our own mistakes.